Hi friends, welcome back to the English Vocabulary Help Podcast. My name is Kayla. I'm an American English teacher. I live in the United States. And this is my vocabulary podcast where I teach you natural English vocabulary. We talk about different cultural things. And it's all unscripted, meaning I don't write every word that I'm going to say to you. I just come up with some terms that I think you should know as an English speaker, and that would be helpful in natural English conversation. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about diet vocabulary. And by diet, I mean what you eat. Some people use diet as a way to lose weight. Some people use diet as a way to feel better. Instead of just eating junk food, you start eating healthier food. We'll talk about different types of diets a little later on in the episode today. Before we begin, I just want to talk about a few things. First of all, if you want to find me anywhere on the internet, you can search English with Kayla. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I have a ton of YouTube videos, and I always get you guys going from the podcast to the YouTube channel, and you really enjoy the videos I make there. I think it's fun, too, when you're listening to someone to go watch them and see what I look like. And I'm going to start posting the podcast episodes on the English with Kayla YouTube channel. The reason being, which means the reason, is because, one, I listen to podcasts on YouTube all of the time. I don't know why, it's just I like to look at them and listen to them. And sometimes I just don't feel like going into the podcast app or Spotify app. Not always, but just once in a while. And two is because you guys asked me for captions and transcripts. If you go listen to it on YouTube, you can see the auto captions. And I will probably try to edit those as well so they're more accurate. But I think the auto captions are getting pretty good on YouTube. They're not always perfect, but it could be helpful to some of you that need a transcript or need captions. And I have my baby sitting next to me as I'm recording today. So I'm sure you'll hear some little baby sounds. They're probably pretty cute while we're recording today's episode. Before I get into my recommendation of the week, I am first going to thank the sponsor of today's episode.
Hi friends, I just wanted to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's show. It is what helped me create this podcast. It's Anchor. Anchor is amazing for making podcasts, and it's a free tool that allows you to create and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, and you don't need any fancy technology to make a podcast just like this one. Anchor even allows you to add songs directly from Spotify to your podcast episode, so you can make all different types of content. Then Anchor does the work of distributing your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms so that listeners like you from all around the world can listen to whatever podcast you make. Also, Anchor supports this podcast and other ones by helping you make money from your podcast, and you don't even need a minimum amount of listeners. Thanks so much to Anchor for supporting me making the English Vocabulary Help Podcast. Make sure to download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now let's continue today's lesson.
Thanks again to the sponsor of today's episode. Today's recommendation is going to be something that I watch a ton on YouTube, and it's a show and it's a channel. It's called Hot Ones. I don't know if you've ever watched this. It's quite popular on YouTube, but basically the premise is that celebrities go and interview with Sean Evans. He's an interviewer for this YouTuber channel, and they eat really hot chicken wings. And each chicken wing gets hotter and hotter and hotter until it's the hottest chicken wing sauce in the world. And it's funny watching the celebrities kind of freak out, and it makes their answers to the interview questions more interesting. And a funny thing about the show is that the interviewer, Sean Evans, he does the challenge every single time that he interviews another celebrity. So some of my favorite episodes of Hot Ones are Shaq. I liked the Gordon Ramsay episode because he's, a world-renowned, very well-known chef. And his reaction to the hot wings is really funny. And I really enjoyed Paul Rudd's episode too. He was just very endearing on that show. And it's just funny seeing celebrities be vulnerable enough to put themselves in this strange situation, eating really hot wings to answer questions with an interviewer. So if you've never watched that show, go check it out. It's obviously in English, so it could be a great opportunity for you to, watch some content in English that's also very entertaining. And if you like any of the celebrities on there, you'll get to learn about them as well. So that's my recommendation for the week. I don't think I've ever recommended hot ones on the podcast before, but it's one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube. I'm a huge YouTube fan. I watch so much content on there. That is why I enjoy making YouTube videos as well, is because I like the platform. I like watching other creators make videos. So, thanks for listening to last week's episode. It was on parenting vocabulary, and I loved sharing that part of my life with you guys. I don't like to show my kids on social media, like I said, but I like to talk about them a little bit, and I like to talk about being a mom because that is such a huge part of my life, and it's what I love the most in life is just being with my children. But I love English with Kayla because it gives me a really nice creative outlet to create things, to teach, and to try to make the world a better place. I have a lot of goals with English with Kayla, and I have something big that's going to be coming in September. I can't hint at it too much because it's still in the works, but I have a lot of big goals for teaching English and teaching English online. And it's not going to be a course because courses can be kind of boring. And courses are not for everybody, especially online. If you don't have someone helping you with the course each day, it might not be as effective. So I want to hint at it. It's more of a community-based thing, but we'll get there. I have some things to work out. But if you listen to the podcast, make sure you sign up for emails too, because I'll probably give more information on there soon. Because you guys have been asking for more ways to learn with me, and I want to do something that's actually helpful and not just a boring course. So that's coming. Other than that, let's get into the diet vocabulary today. So when you say the word diet in English, it's most commonly associated with trying to lose weight, even though we can just say diet to mean whatever you eat. So if you went to the doctor, they might ask you, what is your diet like? And you could tell them the types of foods that you eat and how healthy you eat and how unhealthy you eat. For instance, if you eat a lot of fast food like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A, that would be a pretty unhealthy diet. And a healthy diet might be, I cook lots of fresh foods like vegetables, chicken, beef. Or maybe you're even a vegan, which is someone who eats no animal products. I would consider most vegans very healthy because they have to eat so many fruits and vegetables to pack their diet full of calories, which calories are the unit of measurement to say like how much energy is in a food. If you're trying to lose weight, you don't want to eat as many calories. So I think vegans are pretty healthy, but I think that it's very hard to eat a vegan diet. And personally, I eat meat and I eat eggs and I eat dairy in my diet, so I'm not a vegan at all. You also have vegetarians, and vegetarians are people that do not eat meat or do not eat dead animals. Now, many vegetarians will eat fish, and there's actually a specific word for a person that doesn't eat meat but eats fish. And this is a pescatarian, someone that only eats fish and other foods that are not animals. And then there are vegetarians that eat eggs from chickens, and we call these ovotarians. Ovo means egg. It's like a base word in English. So one thing that I really like to look at online are people who are fitness influencers and teach about living a healthy lifestyle. Now, I don't like fitness influencers who honestly are just online to kind of show off their butt, honestly. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there are accounts where they're like pretending, like, oh, I'll teach you how to get in shape, but I honestly think they're just showing off their butt. And they wear, like, really skimpy outfits, which means, like, hardly any clothing. Like, maybe they'll just wear, like, a bra and, like, really short shorts, which is fine if you want to wear that, but I think that their presence online is more about showing off their body than actually teaching you how to be healthy. I like people that show, what they cook. I like that they show an actual difficult workout that you can do. I like things like that. Personally, the way that I stay healthy and the way that I get exercise is by running. And I had a baby 3 months ago, so I'm just getting back into running. It's never easy, but the way that I do it is I just come up with a plan each week and I try to do that plan. I can talk more about this in another podcast. Maybe we can do a fitness episode. But let's shift back to diet and foods again. So I follow people who talk about macros, and these are macronutrients. So in English, the macronutrients are carbs, which are like in bread, and sugars are carbs. And then there's protein, which usually comes from meat. So like ground beef and chicken would have lots of protein. Eggs have lots of protein. And then there is fats, which would be like oils and things like healthy fats from avocados and fish. Or maybe if you're having some yogurt that has a lot of fat in it, that would be a fat as well. So they talk about how, if you eat a certain amount of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, how it can help change your body and, make you look more in shape. So some people eat based off their macronutrients. Another really popular thing that people talk about when it comes to diet that I've already talked about a little bit in this episode is counting calories. So if you're mindful about just looking at the nutrition label and seeing how many calories are in a food, you'll start to realize that, foods with lots of fats will have a lot of calories. And if you eat that a lot and quite frequently, like if you eat McDonald's every day, you will gain weight. When I was in college, I had a really unhealthy diet for a while and I gained weight. And then I started just being very mindful about what I was eating. I started exercising and living a really healthy life. And I lost 40 pounds. It was the biggest weight loss of my entire life. And luckily, I've never gained back the weight, but I felt terrible when I was heavy. So I've always tried to maintain a healthier lifestyle after losing that weight. And it's really changed a big part of my life. And when I'm eating my healthiest and when I'm exercising, I feel the best. Some people really believe in intermittent fasting. So if you do something intermittently, it means you do it every once in a while. So you could say, I exercise intermittently. That means like you don't consistently do it. So that I just Googled it. The actual definition of intermittent, it means you do something at irregular intervals. So when you fast, for instance, like for religious purposes, maybe you fast for a whole day from sunup to sundown. You do not eat. That's called a fast. Now, people who intermittent fast for diet purposes say that it helps their stomach feel better, it helps them lose weight if they eat only during a certain window of the day. So maybe they only eat from 10 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night and then they stop. Personally, I do believe that if you don't eat late at night, it will help your diet. It will help you feel more healthy and it will help you maintain a healthy weight. Eating at night and snacking at night can mean that you're just eating a lot of calories throughout the day, which is not good if you want to maintain a healthy weight. Now, I say all this about, thinking about the way I eat and trying to eat healthy because, again, I'm an American and I live in a place where there are so many options to eat. There's so many good foods. And if I just give in to this temptation all the time, I would weigh like 300 pounds. I would not feel good. I would not be healthy. There's McDonald's, there's Kentucky Fried Chicken, there's all sorts of good things to eat, and I do like fast food, but I really have to limit myself. If you become too obsessed with the way that you eat, or if you don't eat at all, that's called an eating disorder. And this can be a problem, especially with young girls, because they have a poor body image. They see themselves as being too fat, even if they're not fat, and so they stop eating, and they have an eating disorder like anorexia. And this makes their body sick, and it's really a mental disorder if you cannot see food in a healthy way. So you definitely don't want to become too obsessive about food, and you want to just focus on health. And that's just my opinion. I think if you focus on health, your eating and your exercise will come together in a nice way, and you'll feel good. Another really interesting diet that has been trendy for a while is called the Mediterranean diet. So this diet is when you eat lots of vegetables with olive oil and you eat a little bit of meat. And it's supposed to be based on the diet that people in Greece, Italy, and Spain have or have had in the past. And I think this is a really healthy way of cooking because you're focused on just getting your vegetables. And the more vegetables that you eat, the more green, leafy foods you eat, the better you'll feel. So that's the Mediterranean diet. Another really popular diet that is more extreme, in my opinion, is the ketogenic diet. And this is often just called keto. A lot of people say, oh, I'm eating keto right now. This means that you eat a ton of fats, and you eat protein, but you don't eat any carbohydrates. So you don't eat things like sugar and bread, which is really challenging to do. And this is an extreme way of eating. Like people eat just like bacon, cheese, avocado, and a ton of meat. So you have to eat like a lot of fats to be able to lose weight on this diet, and you really can't eat any sugar. I do try to limit my sugar because that's probably the biggest thing in my diet that makes me feel not so good. So, do I eat keto? No, definitely not. That's way too extreme for me. A good phrase to know in English is balanced diet. If somebody asks you what your diet is and you don't eat in a strict way, like you don't eat keto, you don't eat vegan, you don't eat in any of these ways that I've described, you just eat, vegetables, breads, meats, eggs, you eat sweets occasionally. You can say, I just have a balanced diet. This means that you eat everything in moderation. You eat in a healthy way, but sometimes you treat yourself as well. So that is what we mean when we say I eat a balanced diet. If you want to say that you eat very healthy and that you don't eat many processed things, this would be things that come in a box or wrapper. You can say I eat very clean. Now, this doesn't actually mean that you clean your food. It just means that you don't eat many processed things. These would be like chemicals and sugars and oils and things like that. Maybe you just eat meats, eggs, vegetables, fruits, things like that come from the earth or that are naturally occurring. So there's balanced diet and there's clean eating. Another really extreme way of eating that I see that's very popular, that celebrities will often endorse, is doing a cleanse. A cleanse is when you say, oh, I'm only going to drink lemon water for the next 24 hours. So it's almost like a fast, but you're cleansing your body. I don't know if you're actually cleansing your body, but this is what a lot of celebrities and people online will say that they're doing. So when you eat something really extreme for like 24 hours or for like a whole week, that's called a cleanse. So whatever you eat, I hope that this podcast with diet vocabulary was helpful. Personally, I just try to eat a balanced diet. I try not to drink too much coffee, especially now that I'm not pregnant, because when I can drink coffee, it's just like the best. Chasing my kids around, I need the coffee. And so my favorite meal of the day is breakfast, and I always try to eat like eggs, avocado. I sometimes make pancakes with breakfast, something sweet. which if you're not from the United States, I would say that we have a sweeter breakfast. That's what I've been told by people who come here from other countries, is that our breakfast is really sweet. I love to have things like French toast, pancakes, waffles that all have syrup on them for breakfast. That's probably my guilty pleasure, which is, something that I feel guilty about that I know is not good for me, but I enjoy it so much that I'm just going to keep doing it. Another thing that is a very guilty pleasure in my diet that I'm not giving up anytime soon is very dark chocolate. I like to keep my dark chocolate in my freezer, and I call it my stash. A stash is something that you hide, that you don't want other people to have. So I hide my stash of chocolate from my family because it is only for me. It is only for me to enjoy, and I don't like when other people eat it and then it's all gone. And I also just really like the taste of cold chocolate. It is delicious. Try it sometime if you have never tried it before. The last diet vocabulary word that I want to teach you today just comes from a funny story. I had a student one time that was trying to describe this thing that she liked to drink, and she was like, I love it. And then she didn't know the English word for it, and she kept describing it. She's like, there's fruits in it, it's like yogurt. And I'm like, what? Like yogurt? And she was just describing it in the strangest way. And finally, I Googled the Spanish word that she was saying for it, and it turns out it was a smoothie. So when you mix like fruit with yogurt or juice and ice and maybe spinach, I put coconut water in my smoothies. You mix it up in a blender. That's called a smoothie. A good way to get some nutrition in your diet, which means some good, healthy nutrients, is to make a smoothie. And that's what I do for my kids all the time because my 2-year-old does not like to eat spinach or vegetables. So if I put them in a smoothie with fruit, he will drink them. And obviously I don't make that for my baby yet, but pretty soon he'll be drinking smoothies. Hi friends, welcome back to the English Vocabulary Help Podcast. My name is Kayla. I'm an American English teacher. I live in the United States. And this is my vocabulary podcast where I teach you natural English vocabulary. We talk about different cultural things. And it's all unscripted, meaning I don't write every word that I'm going to say to you. I just come up with some terms that I think you should know as an English speaker, and that would be helpful in natural English conversation. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about diet vocabulary. And by diet, I mean what you eat. Some people use diet as a way to lose weight. Some people use diet as a way to feel better. Instead of just eating junk food, you start eating healthier food. We'll talk about different types of diets a little later on in the episode today.